What's going on, family? It's Brother Coasty at IALLG.com. And we're always building bridges within to explore the world without. Today's topic, it's all about arousal and how it can lead to your demise. So let's talk about it, shall we? What is arousal in the first place, right? Arousal is simply stimulation. That's all it is. It's just stimulation. And it's stimulation that you either enjoy or you've been deprived of. And therefore it gives a pleasurable response. That's all arousal is. But when I'm talking about arousal today, I'm not talking about the arousal that may come to mind when you hear that word, physical or sexual. I'm talking about emotional arousal. And whether or not you can notice it, you're often getting emotionally aroused. That's typically what leads to manipulation. I want y'all to recognize that that's typically what leads to manipulation, emotional arousal. So we're going to talk about it from the man's perspective, from a woman's perspective, and then we'll start unfolding into the topic and get to the meat and potatoes, right? So from a man's perspective, you may not think you're getting emotionally aroused if you interact with a woman and she's touching you, or she's beautiful to you, or she's attractive to you. But you're getting emotionally stimulated. I'm going to tell you why. Because you have to have some kind of emotion for the blood flow to go down to your member on why you're attracted to this person, why you want to talk to this person, right? Emotions precede actions, no matter what we're talking about. Emotions always precede actions. And you may not think of the emotion as the motivating factor, where in reality it is. It just may be in the background and you may not notice it, right? So say you step out and you talk to a female and you dig in the vibe, and that's what makes you want to do stuff, or go further, or get to know this person better. You are emotionally aroused. And emotions come in a variety of different flavors, shapes, and signs and forms. Lust is an emotion. Uh, Curiosity is an emotion. Excitement is an emotion. Uh, and you got to realize some of the conquests that us men get on sometimes is just for excitement. It's emotionally exciting with a physical pleasure attached to it. See, we think we're doing things for the physical pleasure, but in reality, the physical pleasure is a result of the emotional arousal. And so, from the woman's perspective, typically, you know what they say, you get to talk to a woman with her mind. You're emotionally aroused. Y'all already know this. It's emotions. It's always emotions, family. So when you're talking to a woman, or for women, you have to recognize that you got to protect your emotions, and you have to be aware of when your emotions are being aroused, because that can lead you to, again, manipulation. I wanted to just separate those two so you can understand how men and women interpret the emotional arousal effect. Because, men might like, I don't care about the emotion. I'm just trying to, it's physical. Because men are physical creatures. We like things. Like, we like how things look and how we perceive things. That's what drives us typically. We say logic as well, but, it's still an emotion. Logically, this makes sense. Therefore, I feel comfortable, secure, etc., to do this action. It's emotionally arousing. From a woman's perspective, you get emotionally aroused first, and that's what you base things off of. And then you move forward. Now, again, this is always a generalization. Some people may not think this way, even though I believe everybody does in some shape or form. But that's my opinion, just like you have your view. So as we go through this, we have to realize that arousal is a result of a few different factors, and the ability or your sensitivity to your arousal is also a result of a multitude of different factors. So when we're talking about one version of arousal, sometimes we get aroused by things because we were neglected those things. Remember, arousal is just stimulation that produces pleasure. So if you didn't receive love as a child, as an infant, as an adult, as an adolescent in your last relationship, guess what happens? When somebody shows you what you perceive to be love, you get aroused, you get stimulated, and it feels good. And so what happens if you've been neglected of that thing? One of two things happens. And again, doesn't matter. It's always how you get manipulated, what drives action if you're not aware of it. So one thing is if you've never received love or you didn't receive love, whatever the case may be, and somebody sends you love, one way is you become addicted. It's like a hit of coke, hit of crack, weed, drugs, alcohol. It doesn't matter. You get drawn to it. You say, "Oh my God, that feels good." And you want more of it. You want more of it. You want more of it. Or the other side of it is this is foreign to you. I don't want it. You see in both ways that your emotional arousal is the catalyst for the action that you take next. This is important stuff, family. This is how people get manipulated because they start seeing your emotional triggers. See, emotional trigger is a result of your emotional arousal. If I can arouse an emotion that you're not familiar with or you're not aware of that you have a trigger in, I can compel you to act. We have to understand this stuff, family. If I can compel you to act, I can most likely push you in the direction I want you to act in. Emotional arousal, because once your emotions are intact, you stop thinking so logically if you're not aware of these things. And some people may say, well, so I don't want my emotions ever aroused. No, you can have your emotions aroused. The key point is to be aware of them being aroused. The key point is being aware of what arouses you, what stimulations you may be lacking, or the things that you desire, so that when somebody produces those things, you cannot be driven because they're being given. You can instead take the stance of an observer and see what this person is really trying to do, or see if those actions that arouse you in those ways are sustainable. Look, let's family. We're going into the real talk. We know everybody's hurting. A lot of people, I don't say everybody, but most people are hurting in some way, form, or fashion, and it's an emotional hurt. Emotional hurt leads to physical damage. Whether you damage other people or other people damage you, it all stems from emotional hurt. And if you don't take the time to heal, you will not be as aware of what emotions are neglected or what emotions are overstimulated. And when you're in this imbalanced state, you yourself are not stable. And when you yourself are not stable, sometimes you aren't aware of the things that leave you susceptible to manipulation and trickery. Sometimes you're not aware of the areas that you need to work on, but I'm gonna just let you know, sometimes you're not aware, but it's very obvious on the outside looking in. And let's just be frank here. People are predators out here. People are looking for these kind of things and they're waiting. It's a reason why people get hurt a lot. And it's because those other people are hurt, but they're also looking. So I'm gonna just tell you this: it's better to be prepared. It's better to heal yourself. It's better to work on yourself. So when you go out in public, when you go in these situations, when you get and meet new people, your risk of being manipulated is less. You increase your barrier to emotional arousal. Look, arousal isn't a bad thing. Arousal is very important, but you shouldn't allow everybody to be able to arouse you. You should not allow people that much access into your inner workings and your inner beings. And I'm going to tell you, if you don't work on yourself, you are open, you are vulnerable. And I'm not saying being vulnerable is bad, but you want to mitigate that. You don't want to, so to speak, give your pearls to swine. And your inner workings, those are your pearls, and you don't want anybody to have access to those things. So you have to begin working on your emotional arousal, working on what you need to heal, working on those inner things that may have been neglected or overstimulated. Okay. I'm gonna do a part two, so because I don't like to keep my videos too long, because I want you all to be able to digest the information. But this is gonna be part one of emotional arousal. Okay, and as always, I'm offering my service. If you want to get help on working through these emotional arousals, to these emotional triggers, through the past, through the trauma, through the situations that may have imprinted a certain idea or ideals inside of you, I offer my services to you. I want you to go to IALLG.com. I want you to schedule, and we're going to do 3 things on this call. Number 1, I'm going to get to know you and where you're at. Number 2, I'm going to figure out where you want to be. And number 3, we'll figure out if we're a good fit to continue working together. If that sounds like a bet, I want you to go and check that out. This is Brother 𝐭𝐲𝐶 at IALLG.com, and we're always building bridges within to explore the world without. Peace.